After my mom died, I often found myself wondering if the mundane moments of this life were her trying to get my attention. Spoiler, in my heart, they're obviously her, but there's brain chemistry behind it. And in today's episode, I want to share that brain chemistry with you. By the end of this episode, I hope to give you language to why these signs are a thing, and hopefully that makes you appreciate them just a little bit more. Let's talk about it. I was a ball of anxiety the other day, and if you know me at all, if you've been listening for a while, you know that's not new. I had anxiety because I had to go get something checked out at a clinic, a walk-in clinic, and it was a Sunday. I couldn't get a doctor's appointment. I needed something quick, and I was just super anxious about this appointment. And I so badly wanted a sign from my mom as I was going into this appointment. Quick side tangent. The sign that I get from my mom is random Backstreet Boys songs. The story behind this is that when I was a kid, I would pull up the coffee table, stand on it, make everyone sit on the couch, and I would perform Backstreet Boys songs to my entire family. I've been a performer my whole life, okay? But I always loved doing that. And from a really young age, my mom, sister, and my whole family really bonded over the Backstreet Boys. It was my first time I fell in love with music. It was my first CD. I'm a Backstreet Boys fan, all right? I'm in the BSB army. Do you understand? Every time I'm anywhere and I hear a random Backstreet Boys song, I definitely feel like it is the sign from my mom. I remember hearing it in the hospital for a while, when we were there. It's blurry still, obviously, but I have a faint memory of that. Back to the doctor's appointment. I was passenger princessing. I was playing music, and I just so badly wanted a sign from her that would ease the anxiety I was feeling about this appointment. So much so, I was like, I'm going to put all of my songs on shuffle, and if the first song is a Backstreet Boys song, then that's from her, and I'm going to be okay. That's literally was my thought process. But then I paused and I was like, okay, but if I play the songs on shuffle and the first song out the gate is on a Backstreet Boys song, then she's not with me and I'm not going to be okay. And the anxiety is going to get worse. So I guess I just might as well not do it. You can't force a sign, okay? Because then there's no magic in it. But I wanted it bad. I wanted it bad. We walk into the clinic and there's a wait time. All right. I live in Hollywood. It's a walk-in clinic. You can imagine what that looks like. Instead of sitting in the clinic, my boyfriend was like, there's a farmer's market outside. Let's go walk around the farmer's market and kill some time. So we do just that. We walk out, we walk around the farmer's market, get some orange juice. It was really good. And we eventually make our way back in. And as I step foot back in that clinic, I hear, "You are my fire. The one desire." My voice cracked there because I'm crying. I don't know how else to explain this besides the anxiety just completely left my body. And I started crying. And I just really thought to myself, you know what? No matter what happens in this appointment, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to be fine. And it's crazy to think that a Backstreet Boys song did that for me, but it did. Because I knew in that moment, I was reminded in that moment that my mom was with me. And that inspired not only today's episode, but it inspired the topic in Grief Circle last week. What's Grief Circle, you might ask? Great question. Grief Circle is a Grief Club Plus membership perk where you come and you sit down. We all sit down together. It's a group of us and we talk about our grief. And usually I share a prompt to just get the conversation going. But in reality, it's a place for all of us to sit with other grievers who really get it and share our experience and learn from each other. And it's really awesome. If you want to learn more about that, if you want to get involved, you can find some information on that below. But I asked the group, what is the sign you get from your loved one? And when was the last time you saw this sign? And yeah, we got the cardinal, we got the butterfly, we got the X, Y, and Z. But what was so beautiful was the uniqueness behind every story that was told. And, someone shared that they had moved and they were super stressed about this move and their mom had just died, but the move was already scheduled before her mom died. And she was sitting in her backyard of her new house and she finally had a chance to breathe. and a butterfly landed right on her sleeve. There's other stories shared about like going to her sister's bachelorette party and a blue jay was hitting her right in her face. There's so many stories that was shared. They're so beautiful. And it's such a beautiful thing to hear so many people that have experienced loss, but have found a way to still stay connected with their loved one, even though they're not here physically. Someone else shared too that I don't really feel like I get signs from my mom. I don't really feel like I see her often. And that is for sure people's truth too. I don't believe in coincidences, but some people do. I think that's okay too. Like, okay, a Backstreet Boys song happened to play right as I walked in. Like, coincidence? I think not. But some people might believe that's just a coincidence. And in reality, that is obviously a coincidence. Before my mom died, I would have walked in and been like, tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache, right? I would have just jammed along to the song. But now I'm in this clinic hearing a Backstreet Boys song and I'm crying in tears because I feel like my mom is with me. Coincidence or not, that is such a beautiful thing that I love so much. And if you believe that those things are coincidences, I think that that's great. But I also think that there is power in allowing yourself to see that as your loved one. Let go of the control of it. Let go of the science of it. Have a little fun. Let that be your loved one. Why not? It's funny. I saw a TikTok the other day of this guy who walks out of his house with a coffee and it clips to another thing of him standing in front of a butterfly bush. And it's like two of him in front of this butterfly bush. And it says they're labeled as butterfly. It close back to him coming out of this house. Oh, look, the butterflies. Grandma's here to say hi. Hey guys, everyone, grandma's here. And the butterflies are like, I'm not your grandma. Like, I'm not your grandma. I'm just a butterfly. And then the butterfly's like, oh, he's talking to us again. And I'm sitting here cackling to myself because I'm like, yo, I talk to birds. I talk to butterflies. I cry at Backstreet Boys songs. Why do we all do this? All of us do it. I think it's so amazing and beautiful and awesome. But I was so curious, like, why do we do it? Spoiler, it's not delusion. There's actual brain chemistry behind this. And I looked it up and I wanted to know more. And today I'm going to bestow that knowledge onto you, listener. I just want to get out of the way the least romantic explanation to this. And that is your brain is good at filtering information. It's a great filter. So the thing about it is there's like so many things happening around you at one time. I will pause and shout out I'm on the Brain. She talks a lot about just the visual behind you and how that's really just your brain filtering information. If you want to know more about that type of stuff, like go navigate over to her page. I'm on the Brain. Shout out my girl. But anyways, there's thousands of things happening around you at any given moment. And when something becomes emotionally important to you, the attention changes. Like I said before, I would have jammed out to that Backstreet Boys song before, but now I'm crying because it's being filtered differently. So before you would have seen a cardinal, right? And said, what a beautiful bird. But now you're like, what a beautiful sign from my mom. Before you would have seen a butterfly and been like, look at nature. Now you're like, what a beautiful sign from my loved one that's passed, right? Whatever that might be. Here's the thing. Psychology can explain why my brain goes to my mom. Psychology can explain why I see the Backstreet Boys or I hear the Backstreet Boys differently now that my mom is dead. But what psychology cannot explain is why it happened right in the moment that I needed it to. When I asked for it in my brain and needed it the most, it was the radio. That guy knew nothing about me. The guy that chose that radio station knew nothing about me. We were gone out of the clinic, it became right back in. And in that moment, that Backstreet Boys song started playing because I needed it and my mom knew I did. And psychology can't explain that. And I like to leave the mystery in it. I encourage you to do that. Yeah, we can like sit here and be like, well, science. But like, you're boring for that. Respectfully, leave the whimsy in it, okay? Here's another thing. Our brains are really pattern-making machines. We're constantly looking for patterns. That's why everyone always says to like have a morning routine and stick to it and you'll find happiness because your brain isn't looking for new patterns all the time. It knows the regularity of your day, right? So we are constantly looking for patterns. Like we connect dates, we connect numbers, we connect songs, we connect things to each other to make things make sense. Grief, I feel like, can make those patterns really significant because on top of looking for patterns, we're also looking for connection back to that person. I don't know about you, but I try to find my mom everywhere that I can because I can't physically reach her anymore. I would do anything to be able to physically reach her again. But the fact of the matter is we can't. So I'm going to reach for everything that I can to feel connected to her. One woman in our circle talked about getting a job offer on the 4-year anniversary of her mom's death. Someone else said that after a hurricane, the wordle answer was her mom's name. Are those things coincidences? Of course. Of course they're coincidences, but like imagine being the person experiencing those things. It's different. But imagine it for the person experiencing them. Grief takes ordinary coincidence and it puts it next to one of the most emotionally significant things that has happened in your life, one of the most emotionally significant relationships in your life. Of course, you're going to feel something, and what beauty it is to feel. This is probably actually one of my favorite things I learned when I was researching this. There's an idea in grief psychology called continuing bonds. If you were in Grief Circle, this next 30 seconds is for you. I told you to research. I told you I was going to give you homework and I completely forgot because I'm ADHD and I'm just a girl. But this was what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to look up continuing bonds. So for a long time, scientists said that the best way forward was to detach from that person, right? Accept the death, let go, move on. But that's not how a lot of us experience grief. Some people might experience grief that way, but that's not how a lot of us experience grief. The relationship doesn't end, it just changes. And I think that continuing the relationship and letting it change opposed to it ending comes with so much beauty in the path forward in our lives. Understanding that they still talk to you and you still hear them and they're still in your heart and you still cry over them. All of those things is what's called a continuing bond. I still talk to my mom. I still ask her what she thinks I should do. I still make their recipes and tell their stories. I carry their tradition. I hear their voice in my head. All of these things become a way of maintaining the relationship post-death. And what a beautiful thing that we get to do. I really love that because I think I talk so much on this podcast about moving with your grief instead of moving from it or moving on from that grief. And signs are just another way that we get to do that. Something else that came out of Grief Circle that I really loved was this woman shared that she doesn't necessarily get signs from her parents. She lost both of her parents. And she was talking about how she would get upset that she wasn't seeing signs from them. And then she paused and she was like, but I'm living in their house and they are everywhere. My dad and my mom, forgive me, I'm not remembering right now. One of my parents was a gardener and would garden in the back. And every time I water their garden, they're here. I'm in their house. So I'm hearing them all the time and I'm seeing them everywhere. They're in the rooms. They're in the things that they chose to put in the house. They're in the memories attached to this house. She was saying that her parents lived there. And before that, her grandparents lived there. And now she lives there. And it's just so many memories occurred in that house. And instead of signs like the Basher Boys coming up or signs like, a cardinal or whatever that might be, she sees them in her environment. I think that is so awesome and beautiful too. She talked about realizing that sometimes she hears her mom in herself and the things that she says and her mannerism. And this other woman talked about how she cooks now because her dad cooked and she was continuing on the legacy of her parents and she sees signs in that. And she sees her loved one here physically in the action that she takes. She was saying that there's an Egyptian proverb that who has given birth has not died. And I haven't stopped thinking about that because what's so beautiful about that, and what I often talk to my sister about is DNA is cool. Human beings are so freaking cool. We are our loved ones. For me, I am my mom via DNA. And so I think what's so beautiful about that is as I walk forward and as I step forward, who has given birth has not died because she lives right in me. It's so funny. Like sometimes we look up in the sky and we're like, show yourself. When in reality, all we have to do is just take a glance in the mirror, laugh a certain way and hear them in our laugh, do a little mannerism and be like, oh my gosh, my mom used to do that. All of those things are signs that your loved one is still with you. What a beautiful way to look at those things. I encourage you to look at things like that. I really want to talk too about, I don't get signs. I get signs in this way, I get signs in that way. And like people are sitting there and thinking to themselves like, okay, well, where's mine? I don't get signs. Why don't I get signs? Does my person not hear me? Are they not with me? I want to stop that thinking. Just because you aren't seeing direct signs from your loved one doesn't mean that they're not there. Grief looks different for everyone. It does. And so just a reminder, like don't compare your grief to others. Just because you don't see signs in the way that someone else sees signs doesn't mean that there aren't signs there. But I would also encourage you to shift your thinking a little bit. Let it be them. I remember my sister was like, there's a purple light flickering. My mom's favorite color is purple. That's why the podcast is purple. My mom's favorite color is purple. So my sister used to have these string lights in her house. And there's a purple light on the string lights that would always go off and flicker on and on and on and on and off. And for a long time, she was like, that light won't stop flickering on and off. And it went from that light won't stop flickering. We have to fix that light. That light's annoying too. Okay, mom, I get it. You can stop flickering the light. And every time she would say that, the light would stop flickering. And so, I would just say that things can be coincidences and that light probably just needed a new fuse. But like I said, bring back the whimsy in it. Allow yourself to see your loved one in those little mundane things. Here's my challenge for you this week. Don't force yourself to find a sign. Just pay attention. Pay attention to the song, to the animals, the smells. Pay attention to the coincidences. Pay attention to the things that might sound like them. And if something happens that makes you stop and think, was that you? Let yourself think it was. Because you know what? It probably was them. Just take that moment to smile and say hi and thank them for being with you in that moment. Because at the end of the day, that's what we have. And I'm so grateful to have that. And I'm so grateful to the people that shared their stories with me on Grief Circle because it made me feel so seen because we all do it. And it's so beautiful that we all share that together. Anyways, I love you so much. Down below in the comments, tell me what your sign from your loved one is and tell me about the last time you saw it. I'm so proud of you. And I know that grief is really hard, but I'm really grateful that we're in it together. Until next time, love you, bye.